We have a ton of news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SDI. Continue watching this video because you definitely don't want to miss out on this most important stimulus check information. There's a lot of information that you folks want to know. Kevin McCarthy and Joe Biden have passed a new bill, and this will prevent a default from happening. Analysts say that a recession may still occur, but things are looking good on the horizon. Lawmakers in several states are confirming that they will be putting billions of dollars towards the new relief program, which could provide eligible Americans with as much as $1,000. And with the threat of an unprecedented United States crisis receding fast, the global economy looks to have dodged a huge shock. But there are still plenty of issues darkening the outlook. Lawmakers in the House passed a bipartisan bill yesterday to raise debt ceiling and allow the government to continue to pay its bills. Now, it still requires the approval of the Senate, but the risk of a default that could have sparked a global market meltdown has all but disappeared. While an immediate crisis have been likely avoided, the list of problems that have been temporarily overshadowed by the default include high inflation, rising the rates, and also sluggish growth. They have not gone away, folks. There is already evidence that the economic growth is stuttering in the United States and China, the world's number 1 and 2 economies. But the US economy grew far below expectations in the first quarter. Consumer spending fell for the third consecutive month. Investors expect the policymakers to rise the rates even higher in the coming weeks for the taming of the prices, and inflation increases the cost of everyday goods and services. It dampens consumption again. At the same time, interest rate hikes means that loans and mortgages are more expensive. It's weighing on spending by business and households. The effect of higher borrowing costs have yet to be fully realized. In a report, an analyst said that a wave of defaults among the US companies was imminent because of the tightest monetary policy in 15 years, combined with high debt levels and lower profitability. Stimulus checks that landed in bank accounts around the country during the height of the crisis have helped nearly millions of Americans out of poverty, but still there are those who are railing against the provided help, claiming the aid only led to an increase in inflation. Even with a huge number of job losses during the week, economists say it will have a much worse without federal stimulus payments happening. Without the stimulus checks, households would have spent less money, and also they are going to decline even more in unemployment. But by giving families stimulus checks, it gives people money to spend on food, utilities, and consumer goods. But according to some Republicans, they want to offer fewer benefits. Some of these states have also made it difficult for residents to qualify for unemployment insurance. In the event of a recession, states such as these are likely to offer the kind of assistance needed to help stabilize the economy, leaving it up to the federal government again to stimulate the economy by standing out stimulus checks. A guaranteed income program in Los Angeles will soon open the applications to former foster children that will give recipients monthly payments of $1,000 over 2 years. The program is titled Breathe. It will select 200 applicants to receive these payments over the course of 2 years. The window for this application will be open on June 20th and will close on July 3rd. But the program is selected for 1,000 people last year to receive $1,000 every month for 3 years. This program is adding an additional 200 people who receive the same amount every month for 2 years. Plus, the Rise Up Cambridge program is another initiative in Cambridge County, Massachusetts, is providing many residents with extra money, and eligible residents were expected to receive $500 of guaranteed income for 18 months. The payments are intended to help households with at least one child, and they are being funded by a $22 million commitment from Cambridge University. But recipients selected for the program are only given $500, not the full money that they need. There are other consequences of not passing debt default in time. Moody's estimates about 68,000 jobs could be lost. Most likely to be affected are firms that rely heavily on federal workers and contracts, notably around military bases. Politicians have also warned that individual retirement accounts, 401ks, and other investments would suddenly be at risk of losing their value, which could depreciate some things in America. The negative credit ratings and any other continuing certainty about the fiscal path ahead are likely to push the federal rates on all sorts of loans even higher. If a recession hits, the increase inches up to 3.9% and 3.1% for the next year after that. Folks, one thing is for certain, Joe Biden has to do more for the American people in sending out stimulus payments. It must be done. The US population ages 65 and older will be 90 million, nearly double what it was 10 years ago. So in a AARP report, more than a third of the people 65 and older described their financial situation at mid-year as worse than it was 12 months before. It was a huge jump from the 13% of adults who said the same thing in January. But now the Fed has announced its 7th and final rate hike of the year, so Jerome Powell said, "I wish there was a more painless way to restore price stability, but there isn't." The last 4 federal fund rate hikes have been 75 basis points, while the newest one is a jump of 50 basis points. It brings the target rate range to 4.25 and 4.5%. It's becoming the most expensive to borrow, even as stubborn inflation keeps rate high. So folks, there are many older Americans, that especially on home delivered meals and legal assistance, that are facing tough times. Even a few $100 in extra stimulus money can help them out. So individuals who recently signed rebates through the Pennsylvania property tax can get this stimulus check from the governor, Tom Wolf. He's giving stimulus payments to people that need it the most, because that means stimulus checks are helping those in need the most.
Mr. President, in America we call this is bringing the press in out of the cold. Laugh a little bit. That was pretty good.
En Estados Unidos, cuando traemos a la prensa, le decimos que lo traemos del gran frío del
I'm
invierno.
glad to see you again after a successful summit we had, the Summit of the Americas in June.
En realidad es un placer tenerlo aquí con usted, recibirlo después de la cumbre de las
And
Américas,
be able to
que fue muy
return.
exitosa en junio.
Be able to turn a small amount of hospitality your family showed my wife Jill when she visited Quito over the spring.
En realidad, para devolver un poquito de la hospitalidad que usted nos demostró junto con su señora cuando mi señora fue a visitarla aquí.
She enjoyed it so much I wasn't sure she was coming home.
Lo pasó también que no sabía si iba a volver.
Today we're going to keep building on the progress we've made. Together we've made historic strides on migration.
En realidad vamos a seguir trabajando juntos, porque en realidad trabajando juntos hemos hecho muchos avances históricos en el tema de migración.
And this afternoon we'll discuss how we can deepen our security and our economic partnership even further than it is right now.
Y esta tarde vamos a hablar de cómo podemos profundizar nuestras relaciones en el tema de seguridad y economía.
That includes
I really appreciate the work you have done to improve crop insurance. I couldn't agree more. This is a fundamental tool, a critical tool, and I appreciate all the work that's been done to be able to make it more accessible. I particularly appreciate programs like NAP, making them more accessible to producers to help manage the risks of their operations. But could you talk a little bit more about the steps you've taken to make these programs accessible and what your recommendations are for building on them in the next Farm Bill?
I'll start, and I might turn to my colleague, Administrator Bunger. You know, in all our programs, we're always trying to make them work better for producers. And in the case of crop insurance, it's through looking for ways to provide new products through our 508H process. It's looking for ways to expand opportunities like whole farm and micro farm that provide opportunities for specialty crop producers and others. So with everything we're doing, we're trying to open up the doors to make our crop, whether it's crop insurance or other safety net programs, available to as many types of producers